So hello everybody, my name is the Projectionist and today we have a special guest in our podcast, Ryan Kruger, the director and mastermind behind Fried Berry, a movie currently on tour on a lot of festivals around the globe. I also had the chance to see the movie at the Fantasy Film Fest in Munich, and let me tell you, I had a lot of fun seeing it. And Ryan, thank you for making this interview possible, and also congratulations for your ongoing and successful tour.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you from my side. In the beginning, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself so the listeners know what you do in general, what is your work before we dive into the movie.
Cool. So I'm originally from the UK, but my father's South African, and I've always been back and forth from England to South Africa over the years. But for the past, I think 11 or 12 years, I've been living in Cape Town, South Africa. I do a lot of acting work. I do a lot of directing work. And in South Africa, I'm known as a music video director for directing narrative storytelling, within music videos.
Cool.
And I'm known for the visuals and stuff that I do for music videos.
Cool.
But for the longest time now, I've always wanted to make a feature film. Mm-hmm. So this has been it's been a long time coming.
So you told us that you also acted in the past. Do you think that acting or the experience you gained during the acting helps you a lot, also knowing what it is as an actor on the other side of the camera? So as a director, you can help them more, the actors, for example, also Gary Green, which is your leading role in the movie. So did that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where, I started as an actor first, and then I went into directing. And I have to say, it's made me a better actor, and it's made me a better director. Just, the understanding from, the reversing roles. I mean, when I'm acting, I always get on really well with the directors that I work with. And when I'm directing, I know what it's like on the other side of the camera. So I wouldn't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. And it really just breaks that ice, and we have that very clear understanding. So it's fun. I love working with people. I love working with actors. So I think it's a very beneficial thing, I think, as a director to understand what they're going through and what they're thinking about. And yeah, I think it's very beneficial.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean, because I could feel that maybe some directors that do not have that knowledge just focused on the big picture, but do not understand that some acting skills or some actors really need more direction from the director, and you all already have that in mind with your movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned also the work on the music videos, and you're also well known for your music videos. You received an award, I think more than one award. That's really great. Speaking about that, do you think if you had to decide more music or movies, which path would you choose?
Oh, no, definitely movies. I mean, okay. I went into, I started doing short films with directing. And the reason why I got into music videos was because, more people get to see your work. Mm-hmm. You see, when you make a short film, you can take it to festivals. Maybe it will be on TV at 4 a.m. in the morning when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You can put it up on YouTube. But the cool thing about music videos is that you have an audience already. So there's already people that follow that band, that like that band, and you already got an audience. And on top of that, if the band's successful and stuff, then the music video will be on MTV and other major music channels. So it's really getting your work out there. So for me as a director, instead of directing a lot of performance videos with music videos, which a lot of people do, I hated that. So I was more of telling short stories within music videos, or having a very visual video and less to do with performance, because there's no major direction and just doing performance. I mean, the artist has their vibe and how they dance and how they want to do whatever they want to do. So for me, it was just about making short films within music videos,
Yeah.
and it really got my work out there more than just making short films. So that's really why I got into that. But the love for, as always, has been, you know, to make feature films, and that's why my stepping stone was music videos. And you know, it gets to a point where, as an artist, where you get frustrated, and you know, I've come close so many times to making a feature film, and then it fades away, and
Yeah.
then it happens again. I get excited, and then it fades away, and it's, you know, it's just something I've always wanted to do. And when Fry Barry came around, it was just, everything was, timing was just right and just perfect.
Perfect.
And you know, even with the music videos, you have to take time out, otherwise you're never going to get to do features. So you have to go, right, I'm not going to take on any more music videos, I'm just going to put it to a side, and I have to concentrate on doing a feature. And that's what I did.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that with a music video, you have just limited amount of time to tell your story, because the music is like this fixed time. Maybe you have a few
Yeah,
seconds.
you've got three or 4 minutes
Yeah.
to get that story across. It's almost like doing a commercial where you've got, you know, 30 to 60 seconds to, you know, to get the story across to the audience.
Yeah, sometimes it could be good because you're more focused and you need to be more creative, but sometimes it can be bad because you have a lot of ideas which you cannot put into your video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a director in South Africa, do you think that South Africa will become more a hotspot for movie directors? You know, like, for example, Neil Blomkamp shot his movie District 9 also in South Africa. What is your feeling about it? Do you think that it's becoming more a hotspot for that?
You know, I think over the years, it's becoming better. It's becoming better because, I mean, we're known as a service country. You know, we have a lot of big feature films and TV series that get shot here, but we're more of a service country. But I think, you know, over the years, for the likes of, you know, like the bands like Deanford or you know, Neil Blomkamp making District 9 here, and you know, it's definitely put more eyes on, you know, on South Africa, and even like Clint Eastwood, you know, coming here and shooting, you know, the film about you know, the Rugby World Cup
Yeah.
in Mandela and stuff like that. So I think it's got better over the years, but our industry is quite small. And as I said, we're a service country, so our own industry is quite small, but it's starting to grow and get better. But the majority of the movies that get made here, you see, District 9 is still overseas money. It's not 100% South African money. You know, you got Peter Jackson involved, you've got big studios involved.
Yeah.
So I don't always look at District 9 as a local movie, because sometimes it's like you take that money, that overseas money, out of that film, then what would it look like? How would it be? And stuff like that. And it's a great film. I love District 9, but as what is getting made in the industry in South Africa, I mean, we're known for our comedy movies, our dramas, and, you know, historical and apartheid movies and stuff like that. But the sad thing is, over here, you know, there's a lot of people that don't support our movies here in South Africa. And whether you're a film goer or you're in the industry, I think people have just got a bad taste, because there's been a lot of bad movies or the same old movies that get made. And things are getting better, and people are thinking a little bit more out the box, which is great. And recently, there's been a lot more films being made and a lot more better content.
Okay.
So it is exciting to see what's coming out. The great thing about Fry Barry is that we don't make movies like Fry Barry whatsoever. South Africa is quite conservative.
Oh, okay.
So, and I've struggled my whole career of doing crazy stuff, because, you know, it's what I want to do. So it's funny how Fry Barry is literally without a doubt the first of its kind to come out of South Africa.
Absolutely.
To be this underground, gritty, crazy, wacky, genre mashing, dirty movie.
Yeah.
You know? So we haven't had anything like this type of movie. So it's really breaking that mold. And you know, the only people that have seen it in South Africa so far was the Rapid Lion Film Festival in Johannesburg.
Oh, okay.
Which we got 5 nominations and we picked up 3 awards. So even to win Best South African Film for that was very surprising because of the content and because what people are used to. But I feel, you know, good for them for choosing the film, because if we don't make different films and genre movies, then the industry's never going to grow. It's never going to change. It's always going to be the same thing. So the way it's been perceived overseas and the reviews and the awards that we picked up so far and the people that are watching it and the fan art that we've been getting. I mean, somebody got a tattoo of Fry Barry.
The fan art is amazing, what I saw. It's great.
It's really gaining that cult status. So it's really getting in, you know, what I wanted out of this movie. And for it to be my first movie and this happening is amazing. And I'm very humble and I'm very excited. And it's just great to make something that people love and to talk about. But Fry Barry is also one of those films, is you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah,
if you
definitely
love it, you will rave about it, you will talk about it. If you hate it, you will also rave about it and talk about it. But that's okay. It's okay to have people that don't like the same film. That's right. With Fry Barry, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
And the people that love it, there's a lot that people see in the movie. And, you know, there's a lot of people that pick up different things. And the people that don't like it, it's because of the content and it's quite outspoken and it's quite a bold movie. But I mean, if we all like the same movies, it would be boring, you know? So I always say, like, the amount of movies that we watch on a regular basis, you know, there's plenty of movies that we watch that we turn off or we don't finish, or we finish it and we don't even talk about it to anybody because it's not worth the conversation.
Yeah.
So for me, if those haters don't like it, they're still speaking about it, and that's something, and that's great. I've definitely left something with them to talk about, so that's fine and that's great.
Better something bad instead of something or nothing
about it. Yeah.
But it's the same here in Germany. We also have like this niche of movies. They are always the same for me personally. So I totally understand what you mean, that it's more like nothing special, it's nothing new. And we teased a lot of things now with for the audience with Fried Berry. I think we should go into the movie. Let us speak about Fried Berry. Tell us a little bit about what is Fried Berry, how did it came to the idea after the short movie, there's a little bit of behind the scenes.
I think with the success from the short, you know, we had 59 official selections, we picked up 13 awards for the experimental, and it was only 3 minutes. You know, it was a 3-minute film, and we had all that fan art, which was crazy because it was a short film. But people seemed to like it. But there was never, ever a plan to make it into a feature. I just looked at it as that short film did really well. And it's funny because it was the first like experimental film that I really made where I could do exactly my style and what I wanted to do. And that's why I tried to slip away from the music videos to do exactly what I wanted, where I didn't have to worry about it going on TV. I didn't have to worry about, you know, clients and this and this. And from that and where I was at the time in my career, my personal life, that before I made Fry Barry the feature and during the making of the short, I was actually going through a very hard time. I had an operation on my kidney. I got sepsis. I nearly died. I went through a breakup. My cat got cancer. I went into depression. And while I was down at the bottom of that dark hole, I was like, what is the number one thing that I've always wanted to do? And it was to make a film. And I have all these other different scripts that I could have made, that I could have done. Probably would have been way easier. But when I got the idea for Fry Barry, I just knew it was right. I knew that this concept is a film that nobody will forget. It's just a crazy, wacky movie. And in 3 days, I wrote a scene breakdown, a brief scene breakdown, which was like, Barry does this, Barry goes there, Barry does that. And it was very brief. And then, I spoke to my producer at the time and I said to him, I want to make a film and I want to make it next month. And he was like, well, why do you want to make it next month? And it's because of where I was like, I need to do this film and I need to do it next month, or it's going to get postponed and pushed back. So I need to do it next month. And he's like, have you got a script? And I was like, no. And he's like, why haven't you got a script? And I said, well, the way I need to make it, it has to be the right character. It has to be the right way to make it, the right story. And because my lead guy, Gary Green, he's not a trained actor. He's not an actor. So as we shot 28 days in total over a year and a half to make Fried Barry. And, it was plan, shoot. And, I probably wrote about 7 pieces of dialogue, main pieces of dialogue for the whole movie. And as we were making the movie developed. So all the actors that I got on board, we workshopped it on set on the day, and it was all improv apart from the dialogue that I wrote. And then the only person that didn't improv was Gary, who played Fried Barry, because he's not a trained actor. So I had to work with them very, very closely. And a lot of the film, it's funny because it's him meeting these characters and his experience meeting them. And it's also their experience meeting him. And that's the way I wanted to make it. So I molded the movie around Gary to make it work. And Gary didn't know what we were doing until the day that we were shooting. So I needed that clean slate and blank page every day so he wouldn't overthink anything. But there wasn't a script anyway. But it's not like we rocked up and sat and we didn't know what we were doing. Everything was planned because we had plenty of time to plan and go. But I wanted to be organic, working with these actors and working very closely with Gary. So he didn't improv, and I shaped him in exactly how I wanted and what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of times, a hell of a lot of time where I'm going, okay, Gary, copy my face, do this face. Okay, now I do that face. And I'm shooting for the edits as well. So I get the right reactions that I want. So it looks like he's hitting the beats. Because he's not a trained actor, I had to make this film. This was the only way to make this type of film. Otherwise it would fall flat. So it was very organic the way we made it, and to be in that moment with him and to be in the moment with those other actors, and also just coming up with ideas on the spot. And that was the cool thing, because normal films were stuck in cement. It's like, this is the script, this is how it's going to go, this is what you're going to say. And the reason why it will be any different is because the director wants it a different way, or directs it a certain way, or the actor makes a certain choice, but the script is set. So with Fried Barry, we would walk into a scene, a brief breakdown, which would be Barry goes to the supermarket, he goes to the cashier, he gets lost, and somebody offers him, a food taster. So we had those obstacles, and then I'd be like, okay, let's try this, let's do this. And, I'll do a take and then be like, I've just got a new idea. Let's make it that all the food that you're scanning is like a sexual thing, and you got to make sure that the wife.
That scene was amazing. The crowd loved it.
And that's it. Yeah, and that's the great thing about it, because it's that idea, came to me 2 minutes before I shot that scene, And originally, the first shot that we did was her reacting to Barry saying like, "Oh, this guy's like pervy and he's just staring at me." And then I thought it would actually be better if she actually fancies this weird dude, and she just got to make sure that the wife doesn't see. So it was moments like that which had those gems. And when we did that first take after that idea, it was like everybody was laughing, and we knew that was the take.
And I think also, if you would have planned that scene, it would never be that funny. Like you now got it.
Exactly. So it was great to live in every moment and just to be free. to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's what makes Fry Barry a really interesting, film and moment. And it's about moments. It's about this journey.
Mhm.
It's not a complicated story.
No.
It's a movie for you to sit down and go on the journey with him,
And have
and
fun.
that's it. And it's made. Yes, there is underlying story themes of whether it's drugs or relationships or society and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just a popcorn movie for you to sit there, go on this journey with him, and you either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's designed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's designed for you to go on the journey. It's designed that it's unpredictable and entertaining, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's not a film that you can go, I'm just going to go to the toilet, or I'm just going to go grab a drink, and then come back and be like, oh, well, how did he get there? So it's like you have to sit there and go on this journey with him.
Yeah. After the movie, when I saw it, I immediately had in mind, like, I also read about in an interview that you had the 80s movies also in mind, inspired by 80s movies, and I immediately thought, like, this is like the adult version of E.T. So E.T. going out into the world, and first thing he does is taking drugs, having sex, and stuff like that. So it was funny seeing it in that kind of way, and especially the scene in the club with the drugs and the guy standing next to him, and he's doing the faces. It was hilarious in the crowd. We loved that scene.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's, I mean, all those moments in that film. It's also, we've all been there. We've all been in a club where you're listening to music and this one guy just talking, and you don't know what he's saying. You're just like, oh yeah. So it was a lot of like real moments and comedic moments that I think a lot of people, have been through. And I think every city in the world has that dark side of their cities, And Cape Town's a beautiful place. Like, when they watch this film, they're going to be like, oh, this is horrible. I never want to go to
never
Cape
go
Town.
there.
Yeah, and Cape Town's a very, very beautiful place. And that's the reason why people shoot here, because it can look like this and it can look like that. And it's a very beautiful place. So I also wanted to show Cape Town, South Africa, in a completely different way. I wanted to see the dark side of Cape Town. I wanted to show what we haven't seen before in our movies in South Africa, and show these locations that we haven't seen before, and just to really show that society and cities, no matter where you go, we have all those different things. But it's just funny because, I mean, this alien abducts this drug addict. They just got a bad lucky pick. It could have been a normal guy, but it just happened to be a drug addict, and it's just a bad choice of person that they picked. But within the film, maybe. And within the film, like you said, there's many 80s references in the movie, whether it's E.T. or Aliens or Terminator or Indiana Jones or Blade Runner or Explorers. It's filled with or even like 70s movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Starman with John Carpenter, and early 90s movie Bad Boy Bubby. But there's a lot of Easter eggs in the movie from references to a lot of other movies, and that's the thing. I wanted to make a cult style movie, and it's important that the right audience likes this type of movie, and I wanted to put those Easter eggs in there from all these different movies that all those fanboys and people will understand, to be like, oh, this is the reference to this and that. So it was very important for me to have all that stuff. And it's, for me, growing up as a kid in the 80s, 80s cinema is a big part of my style and the movies that I love. And still today, my favorite movies is definitely from the 80s.
You definitely see that that it's inspired by that. But I bet you need to see and watch it more than once to see all the references, because it flies by like it's fast and quick, and you're like, whoa, overflow for your mind.
It's a lot to take in. It's like, the great thing is the people that have seen it always tells me I actually want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Like there's so many cool things in it I want to watch again. And again, that's a compliment, because how many films do we watch where we go, that's it, I'm not going to watch it again, or that was cool, I'll watch it in a few years. So for people to say that they want to watch it again, and there's so many cool things that they picked up on or not picked up on, and they would like to go back and watch it again. So that's awesome.
Cool.
That's really good.
One of the scenes I also really liked was the hospital or asylum scene. I was not sure if it was asylum or hospital, but the breakout, how you shot it and how intense it was. You thought always like, is it now real or is it fake, or you do not know? And then in the end, when it turns out like, okay, it was just the imagination, it was so hilarious. It was so cool. So well done by your directing stuff. It was so great.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You have any behind the scenes bloopers or gags or funny things you remember of shooting the movie you may share with us?
I mean, I think every single day, I think people that watch this movie, I think they know that we had a good time making this movie.
Definitely.
We had a lot of fun making this movie. Every day was a lot of hard work, but also we laughed every single day making it. And yeah, I mean, there was, I mean, when I think there's just so many. I mean, even when Barry played Baby Barry, Eugene, I mean, we couldn't stop laughing. I mean, one of the first takes when he's looking at the fish tank and he turns and he says fishies. I mean, the first take we did that, the camera was just shaking because we couldn't stop laughing. And then there was just, you see, the thing is with working with Gary as well, because he's not a trained actor, some things were easy for him, and then some things were really hard. So sometimes the simple things was really hard. I mean, the funny thing is, one of the hardest shots in the movie, and this is not a joke, one of the hardest shots in the movie is after he's had that chainsaw fight.
Yeah.
And the girl is waiting to see who's going to come out that door. And, Barry comes out the door and she smiles, and he looks at her and he smiles, and then he drops the smile. That was the hardest shot of the movie. Gary, he just couldn't get it right. Okay. And it was just like, all he needed to do was come out of the door, turn his head, then turn his shoulders, and then smile, and then not smile. And that was we must have did like 70 takes for that shot. And it was probably the simplest shot to do in the movie, but it was actually the hardest shot of the movie. So sometimes it's like, Gary, I'll show you, copy me, just do this. And he's like, no, I'm definitely doing the same thing. I'm like, you're not. Like, he was just going turning fast or turning and then turning. I'm just like, oh my God, it's just going to take forever. But we got it. We got it in the end after 70, 80 shots. But it was funny as well. It was funny. I mean, even when I said, cut, go back, you'd just see Gary on the monitor just doing this, walking back out. So, but there was many things on set, like the supermarket scene, and just funny things where we couldn't stop laughing, and it would be cool to get a blooper reel and stuff together. Put all that together when it eventually comes out on a Blu-ray and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a fun movie to make, and there is just so many funny stories, and even with the sex scenes and stuff like that, there was just so many. There was just so many stories. Like, I could go on about it, and some of the stuff's inappropriate to talk about. But there's lots of cool, funny stories throughout the whole of the movie. We had such a fun time.
Yeah, you can see it definitely in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking about Blu-ray, so any plans for a physical release, DVD, Blu-ray internationally also?
Yeah, I can't really talk about it, but what I can say is that it will be out. It will be out next year. So
Okay,
that's all I can
cool.
say.
That sounds awesome. We will see if it will be available in Germany, but luckily we have our sources to get it, even if it's not available because of our censorship. But fingers
Yeah,
crossed that it will work out. And maybe a
yeah,
Blu-ray. I hope so.
yeah.
Um, Also, any plans for a sequel? Because there is an open end in the. You're like Barry, and then
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people has asked me this question, and it's one of the, like, I've got lots of great, I wanted to end the movie how I did, and I think it's a great ending, and it is very left open to everything can just start again,
Hmm.
you know. So I mean, I've got a lot of great ideas to do a second one, but I feel that it's one of those where we either leave it alone
Hmm.
or we do make another one. But I think the movie has to be out there and breathe and and see what happens. But so far with the reviews and what people are saying and wanting to see a second one, it's going to be very interesting when it does finally come out properly, and it's going to be cool just to see the response from people. But as I said, I've got a lot of great ideas to do a second movie.
I definitely know what you mean because sometimes you're not sure if you make it worse, if you make a sequel, or just leave it be. Um, but I think I can imagine that you have a lot of great ideas for a sequel that will top notch even the first Fried Berry movie in that kind of
Yeah,
way.
well, and that's the thing. It's like if you make a second one, it's got to be just as good, if not better. So
Definitely.
I
Or
think that's
different.
the thing. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I just think it's important to get the same recipe,
Hmm.
the same feel.
Yeah.
And with the ideas that I've got, it's definitely the same feel and recipe, and lots of extra cool stuff that can happen. I mean, it's endless, and that's what's great about Fry Barry is that it's a character you can do anything with.
You can
There's
go
no
on and on and on with any
Yeah, it can
situation.
go on and on. So the amount of really cool. I mean, it's like a Fry Barry marketing. We have so many funny videos with the marketing, whether it's the condom commercials or this and that. There's lots of great stuff, and
Yeah.
there is no rules for this character, and I think that's why it's so cool and interesting, and that's why people love it because you can do anything, you
Yeah,
know.
that's really awesome. I think you already mentioned it before that if you would have to choose, if you have unlimited amount of money for making a movie or just a limited amount, but be more creative. I think I heard something out of your voice that you say, oh, it would be better not to have a lot of producers or studios forcing me to do a special way. Just do my way. That would be more your
Yeah,
suitable way.
no,
Or
definitely. I think as a director and as the type of director that I am, that I only do my own concepts and stories and create characters that I want. I make films that I want to make and what interests me. And I'm always open to new things and working with new people. But what was great about this movie was I had nobody to answer to.
Mhm.
I got to make what I wanted to make. And I think it's important to stay true to yourself and make what you want to make. But there'll always be people that you know will say, "Oh, this is a bit risky," or "There's too you can't do that."
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think we live in the day and age where you can't say anything these days, and you can't
No.
do anything these
Yeah.
days without people getting offended, and it's bullshit.
Hmm.
I mean, it's that as a writer, it's your creativity, it's your freedom of speech. But the other thing is, at the end of the day, it's just a movie. It's only a movie, and then people also will look into the film too much
Yeah.
and be like, oh, this, or maybe he's trying to say this, or maybe, and I'm like, no, it's just a movie. Just enjoy it. Don't look into it. You can look into anything and get answers. It's like somebody, it's like a musician writing a song, and it's a very well known song, and then people go, I think this movie is about this.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the song is about this because of this and this and this. And then the artist is like, It's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's actually it's about this.
Yeah.
So people take things sometimes the wrong way, and there's a lot of crazy scenes in the movie, whether it's, like you've got some crazy scenes where there's the blowjob scene in the toilet or
Yeah.
or whatever, and it's just a movie. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, we've all been to a club or a bar when people are making out in the bathroom or whatever. It happens everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't think too much into it. It's just a film. It's just entertainment. It's just scenarios, and it's about the journey. Go on the journey with them. Enjoy the journey. Try and enjoy the journey
Yeah.
with Harry. And that's the thing. If it's not your vibe, it's not your vibe, and that's okay. I mean, if you stick a person that doesn't like horror or sci-fi films to watch a movie, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. So, and that's why we have, different festivals and different genres, because we all like something different, and that's fine.
And the movie perfectly fits into the festival genre. You have the crowd that they know, not taking it too serious, just enjoying it and just having a great time, like you said. And we had a blast, and the audience loved it. And they were not like, oh, this offended me, or this is racist, anything like that. Just leave the serious stuff outside of the building and enjoy the movie, like you said.
Yeah. Exactly. The film is what it is, and that's it. There's no hidden meanings. There's nothing against other people's sexuality or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
It's scenarios. It's just scenarios, and it's just a movie.
Yeah.
It's just a movie. It's made for entertainment.
But it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I had a great time. The audience had a great time, and like you said, you had a great time making the movie with all people involved. That's so good, and you can feel it in the movie.
Cool. Thank you so much, Steve.
Yeah. So thank you for your time, Ryan. Thank you for this great interview. We get to get behind the scenes infos. That was also really great, and that just to have the chance to speak to you about the movie is really awesome. So thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure, man. It's an absolute pleasure.
Julia.